I'm Lillian Noora, registered dietitian and diabetes educator. If you have type 1 and or type 2 diabetes, you always want to make sure that you're prepared adequately for any traveling that you're preparing to do. That means I would go see your endocrinologist or at least the PA or someone else just to get a travel letter. The travel letter will have in it everything that you're able to carry on the plane and actually make your security checks a lot more smoother. So I would get the letter to state things like, hey, I have a pump, so I'm going to bring my pods, I'm going to bring my infusion sets, I'm going to bring vials, I'm also going to have backup insulin pens. You always want to have your strips and your glucometer, of course. Glucose tablets, snacks, and even beverages can be allowed if you do have type 1 diabetes, and that is allowed when you have your travel letter, so that way there's no holdup when you go through security. Definitely prepare before you go. You wouldn't want to go on trip without your passport, right? So you definitely want to go with some food, right? The big thing in traveling with anyone who has diabetes is you don't want to have hypoglycemia. You don't want that in regular life, and you definitely don't want that on a trip, okay? I would always pack snacks. You're actually able to pack a lot of food, actually, that is non-liquid. So meaning you can pack sandwiches, you can pack a whole, Subway sandwich, you can pack Chipotle, you can actually pack things like that. Or just light snacks that travel well, like dried fruit, like apricots or something, crispy, lentil chips or something. You can always pack things like that. Even things like packaged tuna packs, you can actually pack those, believe it or not. Hard-boiled eggs, those all travel really well and are good protein sources, so that way you're kind of keeping your blood sugar steady. And if you want carbs, you're more than welcome to pack regular chips or anything like fruit or anything like that, you know what I mean? Those are always fair game to pack when traveling. That can be tricky, okay, for anyone. Even if you're in the States, going somewhere actually down the street can be tricky to figure out what the carbs are in the food. So I would just get really solid at your carb counting, just knowing the basic general foods. What generally do grains and pasta dishes look like, right? A third of a cup, right, is about 15 grams of carb. Knowing that as a staple, knowing, about your fruits and things like that. If you're not sure, honestly, I would ask some staff, hey, is this more of a carbohydrate dish? Like, what is this really? Having a little bit of an idea. Honestly, if you're not sure, you can always slightly under bolus and then correct later on, okay? So that way you're not having a low by giving a lot of insulin and then having to treat a low later on, okay? So if I were you, I would kind of under bolus a little bit or give what you think it is, and then just go ahead and do a correction later on, so that way you're covered and you're not having a low from overestimating. As far as alcohol goes, alcohol is permitted if you have type 1 diabetes and you're of age. But going forward, just be careful with mixed drinks for sure. Anything that has a juice or a soda as a base, because now you're going to add that to the alcohol, and alcohol can lower your blood sugar, right, naturally. So go ahead and make sure you're hydrating through your night with either iced tea or water or maybe Coke Zero, something with 0 calories, so you're actually hydrating. And also be sure to check your blood sugar before you go to sleep. Alcohol can actually has a cumulative effect, and so that low can happen a lot later. So if you're gonna crash and call it a night at 2, you could have a low later on at 4 a.m. or later on in your evening. So go ahead and make sure you check in before you go to bed, and just seeing how that goes. The Dexcom or any kind of CGM actually helps a lot with that. So you can travel. Diabetes does not stop you at all, and it shouldn't. And if for any reason you feel like that is the case and you feel limited by any means, find a good educator. Come see one of us, because travel should be a part of anyone's life if that's what you want. You just got to plan a little bit more, right? And the little bit more planning that you do makes your trip so much more enjoyable, because now you don't have to worry about anything. It's when you travel and you're unprepared and you run out of your insulin, or your pump fails, or you don't have what you need, right? And then you're scrambling to find a pharmacy abroad and you're freaking out, right? And now your trip isn't as fruitful and amazing as it could have been. So always plan on the front end. Here at this office, Endocrine Associates of Dallas, we actually give you backup insulin pens, Lantus, Tujay, or whatever, long acting if you need it, and short acting if you need it as well. We'll give you everything you need to make sure you have an enjoyable trip, because we want you to come back and tell us amazing stories. So we want to make sure you're prepared so you can have a seamless and amazing trip.